Roman Reigns is not the greatest wrestler of all time. He's insanely overrated. Now I know, this is the part where y'all will start screaming at me through your mobile devices or your computer, sending me hate comments as y'all will be smashing the dislike button, and probably will be searching for a torch and pitchforks ready to burn me alive. Now, before any of y'all do that, just hear me out. I'm always here to give credit where credit is due. Just because I think Roman Reigns is overrated does not mean I think he's bad, because I think he's far from it. Ever since turning heel at SummerSlam 2020, the man has been on a run of a lifetime. The Tribal Chief character has been undeniably remarkable, and the Bloodline angle has been some of the greatest storytelling in pro wrestling history. Over the past few years, Reigns has not only proven himself that he can carry himself like a top star, not only has he proven himself to be a legitimate draw, but most importantly, a great creative mind. However, the reason why I consider Roman Reigns to be the most overrated wrestler of all time is the way how he's often been ranked in the GOAT conversation. I always see him nowadays like being ranked in the top 5, top 3. People have even gone so far to even rank him as number 1. Yes, wrestling fans have been trying so desperately to convince me that Roman Reigns is the greatest wrestler of all time, and even implying that he's above and better than Hulk Hogan, Undertaker, The Rock, John Cena, Steve Austin, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and even Ric Flair. Like, no, absolutely fucking not, no. Roman is good, no doubt about it, but for anybody convincing me that he's the greatest wrestler of all time, let alone above all those legends I name, y'all must be 10 years old or probably were born yesterday. There's no denying that Roman Reigns' run from 2020 to 2024 has been undeniably immaculate with the whole Bloodline storyline and the Tribal Chief character, but I feel like wrestling fans often give him too much of a pass of how great his recent run has been over the past few years that they often forget how catastrophic and disastrous his initial push was during his run as a babyface from 2015 to 2020. It's almost as if wrestling fans have been trying so hard to rewrite his history by acting like his initial push during the Big Dog era wasn't as bad as people make it out to be, or acting like it didn't happen. And that's the one thing that really irks the shit out of me when wrestling fans look at his entire career. The Big Dog era is the one thing that will forever hold Roman Reigns back for me ranking him as one of the greatest of all time because of how fucking atrocious it was, not just to his career, but for the WWE's programming for the longest time. Which is why today I'll be explaining my valid reasons of why I don't think Roman Reigns is the greatest wrestler of all time. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Now, I know this is something that has been talked about to death for like the past 10 years, but it's been well documented how controversial Roman Reigns' rise to the main event scene was in 2015. During his heydays in the Shield, along with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, it was crystal clear that Vince McMahon and the WWE higher-ups had their sights set on Reigns becoming the next top guy, replacing John Cena as the flagship superstar who would define the company for years to come. At the time, it really didn't seem like a bad idea at all, because after all, Roman had shown a few times that he had main event potential during his time in the Shield, from his incredible performance at the 2013 Survivor Series pay-per-view, as well as Royal Rumble 2014, where he eliminated 12 wrestlers in a single Rumble match, breaking Kane's record in 2001. Furthermore, Reigns also had the look of what Vince McMahon looks for in a top star, from his handsome good looks, his muscular physique, a badass persona, and a proud family lineage. So the WWE Universe were asking themselves, what could go wrong? Well, everything. WWE had made a plethora of creative mistakes when they were on the verge of trying to solidify Roman as the number one top guy of the company. What made Roman so cool during his time in the Shield is the fact that he had this badass persona, presented as the silent heavy muscle of the group, who was so intimidating, but that all changed in 2015 when the company eventually stripped away of all the things that made him cool during his time in the Shield by blatantly turning him into a carbon copy of John Cena. Vince McMahon clearly wanted Roman Reigns to take John Cena's place as the face of the company, so he pretty much decided to make him into the John Cena 2.0. From the bland character work, his limited moveset, he had no charisma, the god-awful comedy, as well as making him laugh at the jokes he told, even making him wear blue eye contact lenses, which was super cringe, and his subpar mic skills. Like seriously, watching Roman Reigns cut promos during this time period was just absolutely torturous and painful to watch. Well, I wouldn't really say it's the fact that Roman couldn't talk, but you could just tell that some of the material and dialogue that WWE creative were giving him just really did not come off authentic or believable, as they really did him no favors. By booking Roman this way, this made him totally unlikable and caused fans to eventually boo him. Which, unfortunately, leads me to talking about the 2015 Royal Rumble match. Look, I really don't have the time or the energy to rag about the 2015 Royal Rumble match. This is something that has been talked about to death for like 10 years, so if I were to go on a long rant about how utterly atrocious it is, it would be like putting a bullet through a dead body at this point. But I'm just gonna do the best I can to make this short and simple. It's one of the most iconic WWE matches for all the wrong reasons, as this is where the company was blatantly delivering a humongous middle finger to the audience in attendance and at home to piss off and deal with it. To make matters even worse, it didn't help the fact that Daniel Bryan, who was the most popular babyface of WWE at the time, got eliminated early on in the match, as he was the one who the crowd wanted to win that night, as he was coming back from a career-threatening neck injury. And the moment that Roman Reigns made his entrance at number 19, it was very obvious to the fans that he was going to win, as Daniel Bryan was just tossed aside, as if WWE thought the fans were just going to get immediately over it and shift their support for Reigns. But that completely backfired, which added more fuel to the fire for the fans hating Reigns even more. Hell, not even The Rock could even get the fans to cheer for Roman that night, because he even got booed as well. Once the match was finished, the crowd completely shat all over it, as this was WWE making a statement like, hey, fuck you, we don't care what you want. Roman is going to be the guy that will represent our company for years to come, whether you like it or not, so get over it. And that's exactly what happened, as this marked the first year of the never-ending babyface push of the company spending years trying to solidify Roman Reigns as the guy. And my God, the dark times that would arrive. Here's the thing, I don't feel like choosing Roman as the top guy was ever the issue, because like what I said, he always had the tools and the credentials of feeling like a top star. It's just the timing of his push and the way WWE went about it was the problem, because the fact that fans just didn't want another corporate golden boy. Look, as annoying as wrestling fans can be, they don't like stars that are forced upon them. They want stars that are presented to them organically. And most importantly, it boils down to the fact that Roman Reigns at the time was not ready. Like, he just really wasn't. The fact that even the man himself has gone on various interviews admitting this should really speak volumes. When it comes to looking at Roman Reigns' accomplishments, he holds the most records by headlining WrestleMania for a whopping 10 times. WrestleManias 31, 32, 33, 34, 37, 38, 39, twice at 40 on both night 1 and night 2, and 41 have all been headlined by Roman Reigns. Unless if you're somebody who's like the biggest glazing, ass-kissing Roman Reigns mark, is there anybody out there who truly believes that Roman Reigns deserved every single WrestleMania main event that he's been in? Now, there's no doubt in my mind that Reigns has definitely had some barn-burning matches at the Showcase of the Immortals. 31 against Brock Lesnar was a match that was way better than anybody expected considering the lackluster build-up. 37 in the triple threat match between Edge and Daniel Bryan. Against Cody Rhodes twice at WrestleMania 39 and 40. And even earlier this year in an incredible triple threat match between CM Punk and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 41. However, even with all the great matches that he's had at the Showcase of the Immortals, he's also had some major stinkers as well. His match with Triple H at WrestleMania 32 was a 27-minute snoozing shitfest of a match that the fans didn't ask for, where WWE had the audacity of muting out the booing fans when he won the WWE Championship after the match finished. 33 against Undertaker was an incredibly sad match to watch, as it was a slow-paced match that was full of botches, with the Undertaker's age really catching up to him, and WWE not turning Reigns heel the night after, which to this day is such a huge missed opportunity. His match against Brock Lesnar at 34 was just nothing but a constant finisher fest match, with the fans in attendance completely just taking a theatrical dump on both Reigns and Lesnar, making it abundantly clear that they didn't give a flying fuck about the match. And yet again, in their third encounter at WrestleMania 38, where it was dubbed as the biggest WrestleMania match of all time, which is a load of old bullshit, because this was just as generic as every single Brock Lesnar-Roman Reigns match, a predictably boring match where Reigns emerged victorious and everybody just groaned. Having just simply one man dominate the main event of WrestleMania for so long, especially when there were so many other names that were good enough to have a shot in that particular spot, is just simply too much. This serves as a harsh reality that people need to realize that Roman Reigns had been more of a detriment to WrestleMania, as it seems like the company always put the spotlight at the main event of WrestleMania on Reigns, which to me hasn't always been a good thing, even with some great matches that he's had. To say that Roman Reigns' run at the top of the WWE food chain for the better part of a decade has been frustrating would be a huge understatement, as his massive push really hurt the WWE product for so long, most specifically when it came to a laundry list of wrestlers that were pushed aside in favor of only treating Roman Reigns like he was the only star that mattered. When the fans desperately wanted Daniel Bryan, WWE went with Roman Reigns instead. When the fans wanted Dean Ambrose, yet again, WWE went with Roman Reigns instead. When the fans wanted Braun Strowman, WWE kept going with Roman Reigns. When the fans wanted some Samoa Joe. They stuck with Roman Reigns. When the fans wanted Finn Balor, WWE kept going with Roman Reigns. Like, do y'all see a recurring theme here? WWE made their intentions that they were going to stop at nothing of treating Roman Reigns like the be-all, end-all superstar, even if it came at the expense of so many wrestlers being sacrificed or who had their careers sabotaged by Vince McMahon and the WWE higher-ups. And objectively, the more you think about it, some of these wrestlers were objectively way more popular and more talented than Reigns was. Even when he finally turned heel and was allowed to find his stride as a main eventer, WWE once again made the same mistake during his initial babyface push by only putting the spotlight on him, but treating all the other wrestlers on the roster like he was underneath him, which makes it crystal clear that Roman Reigns' run at the top, for the most part, wasn't exactly profitable for the whole product. Like what I said, there's nothing wrong of choosing that one guy who defines your company, but at the end of the day, it should not be a one-man show. The harsh reality that wrestling fans need to acknowledge about Roman's career is the god-awful booking. The thing that really annoys me about wrestling fans when it comes to looking at his initial babyface push is the way they say, oh, the big dog run wasn't as bad as people make it out to be. Okay, at that point, y'all need to take off those goddamn nostalgia glasses and learn how to be objective for once, because it really was that bad. Roman's booking during his initial push was so poor that it nearly could have tarnished his career. Like, are y'all really trying to forget the shitty promos he was cutting, like Suffer and Succotash or Magic Beans, the atrocious segments he was featured in, like the time he was covered in dog food by Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler, and the god-awful WrestleMania main events he had 3 years in a row from 32, 33, and 34. But yet y'all are really trying to say that the big dog era wasn't that bad. Like, come on, like, y'all need to stop the bullshit. Like, you wrestling fans seriously need to stop with this revisionist history bullshit and for once learn how to be fucking objective. Look, I know that none of that was ever Roman's fault because he was a victim of bad creative, but the fact of the matter is, whether if it was Roman's fault or not, it does not excuse or justify the fact that Roman Reigns, during the big dog run from 2015 to 2020, was an abject failure. Like, there's just no other way people can look at it. It was a fucking failure. I'm not trying to say Roman Reigns himself was the failure. It's the fact that Vince McMahon and the WWE higher-ups were the ones that failed him. For me, it was the worst slow of any main event talent in history. And while sure, some wrestlers go through a bad phase in their careers, but when it came to Roman's, it was by far the lowest of lows. Because Roman at his worst was never as bad as any of the greats at their worst. The fact that he actually managed to recover from all those years of bad booking, I honestly consider it to be a miracle. If anybody else was in Reigns' position, that would have been like permanent career damage, because I don't understand how anybody could ever recover from that. And I know people always keep telling me, well, if it wasn't for all those bad years, if it wasn't for the big dog era, we would have never had the tribal chief gimmick or the bloodline storyline, so it was all worth it in the end. No, the fuck it wasn't. Like, no, it wasn't. Look, sometimes better late than never. But for anybody trying to convince me that all those bad years of corny babyface Roman Reigns was all worth it at the expense of only giving him all the shine and glory while every other wrestler on the roster had their stock and momentum halted by WWE higher-ups and Vince McMahon is just fucking asinine. Because like what I said, we should have had this character years ago, because those bad years I really don't think were all worth it.